Michigan dumped about a foot of snow on us over the last couple days, so you might hear a lot of plows. Hey guys, it's Misty from the Book Rat, and because I was unable to do a November rewind in December, this is my November and December rewind in January. There's a good chance I'm gonna have to split this into 2 videos because it might be quite long, so this will be part 2. Click here. Because I don't have a lot of time or a lot of memory left on my camera right now, and because this is a lot of books, I'm gonna try to be as quick and brief as I can. So keep in mind most of these will be getting written reviews. Okay, that's enough wasted chatter. I'm gonna get straight into it. Here are the books that I read in November. I kicked off the month with our winner of the Macmillan themed stack of 5, Sekret by Lindsay Smith, which huge thumbs up. Now because this was a stack of 5 winner, it is going to get its own video review, which I have had recorded since sometime in November. I just haven't had a chance to edit it and put it up, but I'm hoping to be able to do that soon. But just really quickly, it's a very solid debut. It was really engaging and just kind of kept pulling me along. The writing felt really natural and I didn't have those pet peeves that you normally have with debut authors. Her passion for Russia really showed. The history was solid, the characters were solid, and I was really surprised by the amount of tension she was able to inject, even in moments that wouldn't necessarily be tense on their own. So, highly recommended. It comes out in April, so put it on your to-read lists or your library request lists or your pre-order list, whatever, but this is a book that I think would appeal to a lot of different people. If you like contemporary, if you like espionage and thrillers, if you like supernatural, I think it kind of hits a lot of different notes, so pretty broad audience on this that will enjoy it, I think, and I certainly did. Make sure you keep an eye out for my full review of this so you can hear more of my thoughts, but definitely put this on your to-get list. Next up, I couldn't resist reading The Splendor Falls by Rosemary Clement-Moore because Texas Gothic, which I read in October, was just so very enjoyable that I had to pick up the only other book I own by Rosemary. This was totally different than Texas Gothic, which I wasn't expecting. There were things there that were similar, of course. It still felt like Rosemary's book, but just the tone and the style and the approach to it were not at all like Texas Gothic, which I really like when an author can change it up and give you something different each time out of the gate. And I'm really hard-pressed to tell you which one I liked more. I really enjoyed both, and I enjoyed them for completely different reasons, and I think both are memorable for completely different reasons. But either way, huge thumbs up. She remains on my author to watch list and my funk breaker list. She's someone I know I will be reading more of and wish that I had read sooner. I followed that up with a determination to completely throw out my TBR for the month, apparently, because I went from that into a reread of Son of Shadows by Julia Marillier. This I blame a little bit on Bethy because we got to talking about how amazing the Seven Waters books are in the comments of one of my videos, and it really made me need to reread them. I was gonna go back to Daughter of the Forest. I seem to reread it about once a year, and I was about due for a reread of it, but I decided this time instead I would go with Son of the Shadows. Of course give it a thumbs up, but I also see why I always crave Daughter of the Forest and not this one. Daughter of the Forest, setting aside the very, very beginning, which is very info-dumpy, I read straight through. Even though I want to get to certain parts, I love all of it and want to re-experience all of it, whereas this one, there was a strong urge to just skip ahead and cherry-pick the parts I wanted to read, which meant that I moved through it a little slower, especially for a reread. That also meant that I kind of picked up on things differently this time around, or took things differently. There were things that bothered me the first time that I actually really liked this time, so it was kind of a weird rereading experience for me because I still had the same favorites butterflies thing going on, but it was also like reading it again for the first time in some ways, which you don't really get very often, so it was interesting and I'm glad I reread it. It finally made me break down and buy the 3rd book. Hopefully I'll be able to work that one in soon, even though it is a beast. But since I'll be fresh off the heels of this one, now would be the time to do it, so Fingers crossed, who knows if that'll happen, and if it doesn't, then I guess I'll just have to reread these two again. Twist my arm about it. Keeping with the theme of just tossing my TBR out the window, I also picked up a book that showed up in November, and that was Defy by Sarah B. Larson. This is a debut that comes out this month, January, and I hadn't heard of it until it showed up, but it is a gender bender epic fantasy. You could not pick a more perfect phrase geared toward making me read something immediately, so I did. And I'm a little bit torn. Unlike Sekret, which didn't hit a lot of those debut pet peeves, I felt like Defy did. There were a lot of things about it that I wanted to get my editor red pen out and fix and make notes on, you know? Things that I wanted to encourage in a, I guess, more literary direction. I think I wanted more out of it as far as depth and follow-through, I guess. I don't think it's bad, I don't think it's awful, but I needed things to be a little bit more thought through and a lot more lengthened. The pacing, reading-wise, is very, very quick. It draws you in. I flew through it. But the pacing as far as development and believability is really, really off to me, especially when you're talking about these huge life-changing events and world-changing events, and also disguised characters. Coming to terms with things, I guess, needs to happen in a much more organic and slowly paced way. There are huge upheavals in this book as far as what the characters present to the world and what they believe and just their paradigms, how they view their world and how those shift. That takes some wrapping your brain around, and I felt like there just wasn't enough time to allow them to do that or for me to believe that they had done that. That bothered me, and it bothered me a little bit on the gender bender aspect as well. I don't want to give away why, but it just wasn't the most believable. Maybe it's my own fault for going into this and wanting Tamara Pierce's Song of the Lioness series, which is written at a fairly lower middle grade age, and so it can be kind of bare bones at times, but it's still really worked in the depth, especially as you go through the series. You get that character development and you get to feel the tension for the characters, and especially for Alana, who's in this very precarious position. I didn't necessarily feel that with Alexa. It just kind of ate away at my believability, which ate away at my enjoyment. Now, I did enjoy it. It was quick. It was fun. There were highlights that were strong enough that make me curious to see how Sarah will grow as a writer, but I definitely wanted more from it. When I pick up an epic fantasy, I want it to be epic, and I want it to have the development, even if it's not epic in size of the book, which I'm fine with. I don't love doorstops. I do want it to be epic in its understanding of human nature and its portrayal of that, and its world building that it sets out, and my willing suspension of disbelief. And if those kind of notes aren't hit, I always tend to judge it more harshly. It is what it is, but I was left feeling a little eh. And then I wrapped the month of November up, speaking bits and pieces here and there of sort of easier to read books, and I don't honestly remember all that much of them. As many of you probably know, November and December was chaotic for me. My mom was in a really bad car accident, and I spent end of November and beginning of December in the hospital with her. So the following 4 books I read in just snatches whenever I was able to, and I don't know how much I absorbed. They were just kind of something to keep me occupied, and for that reason I can't give too much of a thumbs up, thumbs down, or even really too much of a review, because I can't say whether you guys are going to like them or even really what I liked about them or thought of them, because I don't know. Anyway, they are How to Be Alone by Tanya Davis, illustrated by Andrea Dorfman. This is the one that I did finish, and I think it might have even got in before the accidents. Basically, this is a poem that was then turned into a YouTube video, illustrated by Andrea, and then turned into a book. It's just kind of really, really quick. I mean, you could probably read this in the bookstore if you wanted to and see if it's something that you want to bring home, but it's just this little poem about learning to be comfortable in your own skin and with yourself, and just learning to be okay with just being you and experiencing your own company. I think that it is something that most people do have a problem with. How many people are willing to go out to dinner by themselves? Or to a movie by yourself? You feel really awkward and uncomfortable, and people just won't do that. Kind of addresses that and why you are good company and why you should learn to like spending time with yourself and treating yourself to dinner and a movie. I like how it was executed. I like the illustrations. I like the simplicity of the whole thing, but also the power of the message, and just definitely worth picking up. Giving to friends, keeping on your coffee table, keeping for yourself as a reminder of the awesome person that you are. Definitely recommended. How Not to Be a Dick, an Everyday Etiquette Guide by Megan Doherty, which I'm going to give a thumbs up, but it's not quite what I was expecting. When I first flipped through it, I thought I was going to be disappointed. I was expecting something much more snarky and not mean-spirited necessarily, but just kind of smart-assy, I guess. Just wholly inappropriate. And it's actually not. This is a legit etiquette guide. It does have really good advice, kind of for completely socially inept. Covers every situation, what you should do and shouldn't do, and it kind of sprinkles in these fun with Dick and Jane style illustrations throughout. And it did have, you know, a good amount of snark, but not in the way that I thought it was going to be. And so when I, you know, first got it and flipped through it, I didn't think I was going to like that, because I was expecting that smartass thing and something kind of funny to keep on the coffee table. I don't have a coffee table, but I say that word a lot. Anyway, but instead it's an actual self-help book, I guess. It does have some really good advice, but also really good humor and unexpected humor in some ways. Running jokes and just a good kind of approachable silliness to it. It does make a really good conversation point. It's a little bit of a win-win. Next up was The Geek's Guide to Dating by Eric Smith, which this and the next book were really read in the height of the madness. I had read some of How Not to Be a Dick before the car accident, so I was able to kind of absorb that one a little bit better. This one, what I remember of it is it was just really charming. It's really cute and funny. It takes that sort of gaming, geek culture tone and really pulls it through every little thing. I mean, everything is thought of. It's very cute and quirky, and again, it does have, you know, actual advice. It definitely hit that nail on the head, and I think it would just be kind of perfect for certain people. You know, this is aimed at nerd culture, and the design of it is just fantastic. I mean, it's just really, really cute, and I don't remember if I showed you guys the Under the Dust jacket before, but it's so cute. And it has little illustrations and fun things throughout. Really well done. It's from Quirk Books, so of course it's got that quirk appeal. And again, just good coffee table book, good conversation starter, which if you're looking to get your geeky love, I guess a good conversation starter is appropriate. I'm running out of time. I'm running out of time. I'm gonna have to cut this video because I've definitely used up all my time in the memory, so I'm definitely splitting this into 2 parts.